Mom, Dad, I humbly suggest you save some money and shop Amazon for back to school. It's for my growth, meaning my body's growing at an alarming rate. And clothes you buy me this year will be very small very soon. Plus, the clothes I love today will be out of style tomorrow. But at least your wallet doesn't have to be my fashion victim if you shop low prices for school at Amazon. Hopefully this is helpful. Amazon. Spend less, smile more.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Dr. Psych Mom Show. Today, I'm going to talk about fights about loading the dishwasher or any other, very, very minor sort of thing, and what this really means about your relationship and your individual mental health. And before that, please do subscribe. My most recent subscriber episode was on how it is wrong that porn doesn't create masturbation and how, in fact, the opposite is often true, at least in terms of frequency, length, and obsessionality. So, and there's 150 other subscriber episodes. And also, if you like talking to me or listening to me and you want to engage more with me, join my secret Facebook group. It's $4.99 a month, and it's awesome in there, much different than the main Facebook page. So anyway, what do I mean by saying that it's stupid? Fights about, okay, because that is my strongly considered philosophical position, is that it is stupid to fight about how the dishwasher is loaded. And why? Why? Because, not because I'm looking down on anybody. People fight about all sorts of things all the time. But that isn't what you're really fighting about. It's just not. Frequently, even more frequently now, I see on my listserv people going in to therapy because they are fighting about the household chores. And they want somebody who can work with a client about that. That is not a specialty because this is not the problem. The problem isn't household chore management. If you are a healthy couple and securely attached and you love each other and you grew up seeing a happy family, there are not very frequent or really frequent at all or really happen at all fights about things like this. That's just the truth. So it isn't like everybody fights about stuff like that. Plenty of people don't. They don't at all fight about things like that. They don't fight about whether it is better to clean the sink in one way or another, or how to wipe down the counter, or how to store things in the garage. They just don't. Whoever cares more just kind of sweeps it, and the other person does what that person wants. What are the situations when that doesn't happen? Well, let's look at the individual ones first. A lot of people have undiagnosed anxiety. And if you are really, really into the idea that there's one right way to load the dishwasher, and some people, I did a little video on this, and some people were talking about that it's a money management sort of thing, because one way wastes money. And so therefore, it's not just anxiety, it's money related. Well, what do you think? People don't get anxious about money? I mean, rigidity is anxiety. Those things are the same. Rigidity is a hallmark of anxiety. I was surprised frequently by how many people don't realize that and act as though those are two completely different things, which I guess makes sense. It's like how anger is a symptom of depression, but most people think of depression as just like crying or sad, and it isn't. And anxious isn't worrying a lot, because some people worry so much internally that they, as a protective overcompensatory mechanism, they try to figure out perfect routines of perfect streamlined efficiency that will forestall any potential anxiety if they are executed correctly. Why would people do this? Because they're really anxious. They're really anxious that if they do something the wrong way, then they will waste money, waste time, waste energy. Something will not come out clean. Something will therefore get somebody sick. There's all sorts of reasons, and it's just like when people are germaphobes and won't, like, let's say, bring their kid to play at a bounce house with other kids, and you say that you're very anxious. They say, oh, no, I just don't want him to get sick. Well, what do you think that is? That's anxious, Things are going to happen in the world. Everything isn't going to work out perfectly, but if you shape your life around avoiding potential negative outcomes in a way that is not what everybody else is doing, that is in the tails of the normal distribution of how people act, then that's anxiety, right? And so rigidity could also be obsessive compulsive disorder or personality disorder. And I have a podcast on OCPD, Are You Rigid as Fuck? And so listen to that one if that's something that you think may apply to you or your partner. So sometimes there's one person who's extremely anxious. So the other person tries to, put away things in the dishwasher because they just washed they had a drink. So then they rinse the cup and they put it in the dishwasher. And then in comes the other one and says, wrong, you did it wrong. This is how you do it. So that could go one of two ways. So either it could come into a power struggle, which is because there's marital problems, which I'll talk about, or it could be that the person says, all right, you do it. And then that person just does it. And then either they complain or they don't complain. That could go either way based on who they are. Or they just say, okay, and then they just do it like the way that person wants it. And then there was something that it's another comment that somebody had. Well, like a woman will never respect you if you just, if you just do what they want. Well, shit. I mean, could you say like, that's a lot of syllables to say celibate, because in fact, if you try to specifically not do what your wife wants on purpose, that's a real good way to never get laid again. That is being difficult, which is like the least sexy, possible type of man, as I've discussed over and over, angry, rigid, or difficult, and all those things are basically synonymous. So there has never been a man who has gotten the respect from his wife by browbeating her into understanding that her preferred way of loading the dishwasher is inefficient. I mean, it's like it's like a vagina, like drier outer, like that sentence. Like whenever you're trying to tell your wife about why something's inefficient, just, stock up on hand lotion because you're not going to be getting laid at all. It's like the least sexy possible remark. And so why? I mean, we'll talk about that first. Why really is that? Because on some level, she knows that this is bullshit. She knows that this stuff is low level, and she knows that there's not one real way to do it, and the thing is if you care that much, then it goes back to my podcast on preoccupied attachment men and why women don't respect them. You have nothing else to do, she realizes, but argue with her on the dishwasher. You don't have other big hopes and dreams and goals. You're not out doing anything important for the family or for your career. You don't have like a passion that would stop you from engaging in these sorts of things because you would be thinking about bigger and better things. You are the guy who has enough bandwidth and time and energy to argue about the dishwasher. Now you say, but wait, that doesn't make any sense. She herself is arguing about the dishwasher. So then doesn't that follow that she finds that to be, in fact, an important topic and worthy of engaging on? No, not at all. She just wants to manage the home the way that she wants. And that's like a bad thing to say now. It's like very not PC. So women won't say that, but a lot of them still want to do that. She does find it important. That doesn't mean she wants a man who finds it important. She, also finds it important what brand of tampons to buy. She doesn't want you to know that information and care about it deeply. She wants to manage the dishwasher. This, like, if you just, like, literally listen to this, like, it could save you a lot of heartache. There's a lot of women that want to do everything in the home. They want to do it their way. But it's like they can't say it. They're, like, not allowed to say it. And it's not like they're lying because they're not even allowed to think it. They're not even allowed to think it anymore. So this is why I have my post called, Do You Really Want to Split All Housework Decisions with Your Husband, or Are You Lying? Because a lot of people, and lying, I mean lying to themselves, not lying in some sort of malicious, nasty kind of way, lying to yourself. And many times in couples counseling, I'll be like, do you want him to, this is also like my podcast on the preschool, I'm picking out the preschools, right? Like, do you want him to have a decision about what preschool to send your kid to? And every woman, young woman, not older women. I mean, you ask a woman, I'm going to be, by the time you hear this, I'm going to be 43. I am so clear on that. I don't want a man to pick out the preschool. I picked out all the preschools. It was like, it wasn't even a discussion. Of course I picked out the preschools. I was the one working part-time to be with the damn kids. Of course I care more about the preschool. Obviously I care more about the preschool. No shit. And it almost seemed like I cannot even describe to any 30-something-year-old woman that the difference that it has been in the past 10 years on these sorts of variables. When people come in with discussions where there's two adults, a man and a woman, and the man has a spreadsheet about preschools, it's like, it's cute, it's very endearing, that he gives a shit about the preschool, but it is so different. It is so different. I cannot even articulate it in the length of one of these admittedly short podcasts, how different it has become. COVID really hastened it, because both people were working together. It was exactly the right moment, I feel like, sociologically, for men to just have to be involved in preschool. And here's the fucking crazy part, though. Here's the part that really sucks. Once they get involved, it's like a vampire getting a taste for blood. Then they're really in it. Then they really give a shit. They care. If you tell them to help with the picking out the preschools, that motherfucker is going to pick out a preschool. He's going to have his Excel spreadsheet, and he's going to have skin in the game. And that's when many women are like, oh shit. And they never realized, that they didn't actually want him to give a shit about the preschool. So at that point, many times people come into couples counseling, but the woman doesn't know that it's literally because he's involved with the preschool at all. What she thinks is that it's because he picked the wrong one, because he doesn't understand the children, because he invalidates her, because he's dismissive, because he's cold, because his mother was a narcissist, Old Faithful, and, or whatever else the reason, ostensible reason is. But the reality is she didn't want him to be involved in the preschool choice. She didn't. She really fucking didn't. Just like she doesn't want him to be involved in the dishwasher system. And all of this would be fine if she wasn't being told by the world, and she didn't believe herself on a philosophical level, that they should split everything right down the middle, which is literally impossible because there is no mathematical splitting things down the middle in interpersonal relationships. There are no people that love each other exactly the same amount, you don't even love your kids exactly the same amount. Oh, blasphemy, but it's true. It's true. Or maybe you do in some way, but you certainly don't like them all the exact same amount, because that's impossible to get a mathematical exact division when we're talking about emotions, right? And so the point being that the other reason people fight about loading the dishwasher, which is a big one that you should discuss in your home, is that one person does not admit that that's the woman. So I'm not saying, so let me be clear. The woman does not admit that she really wants to be the one who is in charge of all home decisions. Because of what that would mean. That would mean a couple things. One, she has to do a lot more then, because that only follows. Or two, that she cares more about such things, or that she believes that genders are different from one another, which she may philosophically very much disagree with. But, point is, she kind of wants the dishes done the way that she wants them done. So couples can come to terms with this sort of thing, and many men can just be like, fuck it, it's ruining my marriage. Are you telling me it's ruining my marriage to care about the dishwasher? Then I never care again. What are we doing again? We're putting the cups in this order? Cool. Sometimes it's as easy as that, because they no longer feel gaslighted. And the reason the man no longer feels gaslighted is the woman's no longer gaslighting herself to say that she actually wants his input into something she doesn't want his input in. So that is in and of itself worth the price of this free podcast, just that discussion. So let's recap. One reason that people get too into this stuff is because they have undiagnosed anxiety and believe that there are certain systems that work, quote, better than others, that they're willing to take to the mat because they are massively rigid, and that underlies and that, covers up deep anxiety. Right? The second is because there is basically a power struggle over who should be in charge of certain, previously gendered home activities, with the woman telling herself she wants input on areas she does not want input in and does not feel. And sometimes, by the way, So I talk about a lot, like I have a post, the man who tries to take everything off his wife's plate, but she's still unhappy with him. And I talk about how the more things that the man tries to take over in the house, the more the woman's self-esteem actually goes down because she feels a lack of self-efficacy, almost like, what do I really do around here after all? But she gets more and more, her self-esteem goes down more and more because she has less things to do, really. And then she wants to do fewer things because she has less confidence. And, I talk about this in, I have a podcast, If Your Husband Does All the Emotional and Physical Labor, Why? And I talk about this in depth in that one. So you should listen to that one if you like this one. Sometimes the woman feels that she does not have the abilities to do all of the things in the home that she has opinions about. So, like, while she might want, because remember, a lot of women were raised by mothers who made all the decisions in the homes, far more than 10 years ago, right? And the 10 years is when I've even seen a change. So on the one hand, they have the cultural script that they want to make all the decisions like their mother did, even if they may deny that, that's hammered into their subconscious. But on the other hand, they do not feel that they have the energy or the bandwidth to do all of those things. Part of the reason that they don't is because child rearing has grown much more intensive. So like their own mothers weren't also reading to them an hour a day in addition to doing all that shit and trying to engage with every word that came out of their mouths. And another reason is that most of the couples I see are dual income. So the woman is working. And maybe her mother did not work and so therefore was able to execute this great, perfect home, but, she didn't work. And this woman does work, so she's tired when she gets home, but she still has the script that she should be in charge of the dishwashers, of how the dishwasher is loaded. And in this case, that has to be discussed openly in therapy, right? Like, what are the scripts that we each came to this marriage with? Which ones don't work for us anymore? They really don't. Like, for example, I've worked quite a bit more in recent years. My son now, my youngest, is in 5th grade, and I just started full-time work when he was in 1st grade. So it's been a big ramp up for me over the recent, 4 years or something. And there's a lot of things I can't care about anymore. I just can't. And so if I was always trying to have like stuff baked in the house, I don't bake nearly as much anymore, So like that's kind of a thing where, as I say all the time, there's no free lunch. Or I used to manage all the people who came to the house, like any sort of a plumber or something like that. I can't do that stuff now. I don't have the time. But if I was going to get really upset about it and then get mad at my husband for not doing it right because I still wanted to do it even though I can't do it, then we would have conflict, the conflict that like I see in many people. So a lot of this stuff just has to be completely hammered out, and really discussed in couples therapy, And the last reason is that the entire thing just masks a deep marital conflict about who is considered more important and more intelligent, And so these things masquerade as issues about how individual household things run or, how the dishwasher's loaded, what restaurant we should go to, whatever else. But it's really masking like a core problem in the marriage where basically you're just picking shit to fight about because you're mad at each other. And it's like the meme that I used to reference all the time. That bitch is just eating crackers over there like she owns the place. Like when you hate somebody, then even them eating crackers is offensive to you and you find it to be just another indication of what a shitty person they are, even though eating crackers is a neutral activity. So if you are angry with your husband or your wife for many, many unresolved deeper issues, usually in the area of not feeling loved or respected, then any sort of home decision is going to be a fruitful playground for all of your hatred to just, come out and your guys are going to attack each other over even the smallest things. And I know I said that was the last one, but just on a deep level, individually, if you care this much personally, really, about how any individual thing goes on in the home, you really have to do a deep dive on how meaningful and joyful your life is otherwise. If you are having an affair, just picture it. If you were having an affair, I know so many people can't even picture it because they so wouldn't do it. All right, forget it. Let's say your husband or wife died, right? And then you were in love with a new person. the same thing I was trying to get at before, new relationship energy. Don't you see all the shows about the people being in love or having an affair and they just come in, they're just dancing through the house because the dopamine is like flooding through their brain, right? Do you think that those people are still fighting with their significant other over the dishwasher? Obviously not. What about on the other end of the extreme? What if your kid was sick? What if your kid, God forbid, was diagnosed with something terrible? Do you think you'd give a shit about the dishwasher? You would not. What about if you started a new business? What about if you got promoted? What about if your younger sister had a baby? Whatever the hell it is that you can picture something that would be so big in your mind that you would no longer really care at all about the dishwasher, right? So then get those kind of things, not the affair, don't impregnate your younger sister, but the point is get something in your life. If you realize, if that makes sense to you, that perhaps an emptiness and a vast yawning boredom and lack of meaning is actually at root of why you're caring so much about little shit, then think about that in not couples, but individual therapy or deep introspection on your own. What else could you do? To make yourself not care about little shit that objectively you will never remember as mattering in 10 years. And what does it hide? So it either hides a marital problem, a personal problem, a philosophical problem, or an internal individual lack of meaning problem. So as I said before, I can't get the plumber anymore. I can't bake as much anymore because I don't have the time, because I'm interested in building my business now. I'm at a different stage, right? I'm interested in something else. It's interesting. So if I have an hour and I could either do this podcast, right? Or I could deal with something upstairs and make the house look 5% nicer, I'm usually going to pick this. And this also gets me a lot more positive feedback from the world than straightening up the living room, as nice as my husband could be about that, And that's somewhat of the issue for a lot of women in particular, is that if you have put your career on the back burner because of raising children, and then the children either go into school or they leave the house entirely, those are two inflection points where I frequently see female clients come in and they say, I'm experiencing a lack of meaning. I don't really know what to do. This is somewhat of an inflection point for me, and I don't really know what to do. And you do get more irritable. You do get more fixated on small things if you do not feel a larger sense of meaning or joy or purpose in your life, whether that is career, whether that is relationship, whether that is child rearing, whether that is volunteering, whether that is spirituality, whatever it is. And one last thing. So many things. This is getting pretty long for my podcast. You also may just be depressed, literally. If you're depressed, then you're irritable and everything feels wrong. So you could be anxious, but you could also be depressed. So listen to all my podcasts and go to all my posts on depression, because that may be happening too. When you're depressed, everything is like, why is that bitch over there eating crackers like she owns the place? Everything, everybody, everyone, and everything is the bitch eating crackers. All right. Well, on that note, I will go. I hope you guys found this useful. It would be a good one to listen to with your partner, potentially, unless, as I always say, don't send your partner my stuff if they don't like it. They should only have to tell you once that they don't like it, and then it's boundary crossing. So you could, if you find these things difficult to talk to your partner about, then reach out for therapy. I'm not the only person in my practice that provides therapy or coaching. I understand that, I'm a little much for everybody. Everybody isn't going to want to work with me individually, and everybody can't because I'm just one person. So there are plenty of other relationship coaches and therapists at my practice, Best Life Behavioral Health. And I'll talk to y'all soon. Have a great day, guys.